your girl Queen back with another video. So this video right here is 10 WWE Legends first and last matches in WWE. This is what I'm reacting to, so like, comment, subscribe. Also hit that notification bell. But this video is 3 hours long, y'all. I'm not finna react to no 3-hour video, bro. That's a whole live stream type beat. So basically, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna react to as much as I can. So please, I set the disclaimer before I got into the reaction though. I'm not watching the whole thing. If you want to watch the whole thing, go find it and look it up on YouTube. You feel me? But that being said, let's get into this video. 10 WWE Legends, first and last matches in WWE. Let's do it.
Born in 1965, The Undertaker, or his real name, Mark Calloway, grew up in Houston, Texas. As a teenager, the dead man was gifted in sports, especially basketball. So much, in fact, that he attended college on a basketball scholarship.
And that's Undertaker? Oh, but look though, like, I'm not gonna lie, man. That's crazy.
Likely due to both his
Undertaker.
talent and size, Undertaker actually considered playing professional basketball in Europe. Imagine how different wrestling would have been had The Undertaker gone that route. Well, he ended up pursuing wrestling instead, and Undertaker made his debut in 1987. Undertaker wasn't, well, The Undertaker yet though. Instead, he wore a mask and was named Texas Red. After only a few years, the Phenom got a big opportunity when he was signed by WCW in 1989. There, he performed as Mean Mark Callous. His time in WCW isn't that notable, partially because Taker spent less than a year in the company. However, WCW's loss turned out to be WWE's gain. The same year Undertaker left World Championship Wrestling, he got signed by WWE. After joining the company, it would be on November 22nd, 1990, that The Undertaker made his iconic debut. At Survivor Series, Ted DiBiase's $1 Million Team took on Dusty Rhodes' Dream Team in a 4-on-4 elimination tag team match. DiBiase only announced 3 men for his team and promised to reveal the 4th at the pay-per-view. Once everyone was in the ring, the $1 Million Man made his now iconic announcement.
From Death Valley, I give you The Undertaker!
My bad, y'all said. Sorry, y'all.
Accompanied by Brother Love, The Undertaker walked towards the ring for his first WWE match. The Phenom was chosen to start the match for his team, while another legend...
And then again, like, The Undertaker, like, he played this role so well, like, his character so well, so, like, it's like, that's how life works, man. It's like, dang, like, it be the people, like, man, like, you get what I'm saying? So, it works out the way it's supposed to, type beat.
Bret Hart was selected for his. Bret tried running the ropes, but Undertaker caught him and started choking out the excellence of execution. Jim Neidhart then tagged in, but the dead man took him down with ease as well. Koko B. Ware then took a stab at The Undertaker, but to no avail. The demon from Death Valley quickly grabbed Koko and hit the first ever tombstone piledriver to pin the Birdman. Bret Hart then got back in the ring and actually managed to hit The Undertaker. Even after absorbing several blows to the face, Undertaker's expression didn't change a bit, although he did tag out of the match. When Taker became the legal man again, Dusty Rhodes was on the mat, so the Phenom hit a curb stomp to the shoulder? Anyways, Dusty quickly tagged in Bret Hart, but the dead man brought his A-game and took control of the Hitman. The Phenom got a little offense in, but soon tagged out with Greg Valentine. However, Taker became the legal man again when Ted DiBiase was having trouble with Dusty Rhodes. The dead man took down the American Dream with a knee, and then got on the top rope and delivered a double axe handle. Undertaker pinned the Dream Team's captain, and was then attacked by Bret Hart. Like last time, the Hitman's assault had no effect, and the dead man tagged back out. On the outside, Dusty Rhodes and Brother Love got into a tussle, which prompted The Undertaker to come to his manager's aid. This inadvertently got the Phenom disqualified via a countout, but The Undertaker didn't seem to care, and he and Dream brawled to the back. The match continued without Undertaker, and despite being eliminated, the Dead Man's team won after DiBiase pinned Bret Hart. Undertaker's debut is pretty iconic, but looking back, it's unique as well. How many wrestlers have debuted at Survivor Series and as part of a team?
His character
While
was so
Undertaker
good,
didn't spend
man.
a ton
Like,
of time in the ring, I felt like it was a pretty
he
good balance.
fitted it so perfectly.
It gave you an idea of what
like,
the Dead Man was like,
man.
but left you wanting more. He also looked really strong, and having Undertaker get counted out prevented him from getting beaten, but also got him out of the match. Considering how people reacted to wrestlers like Roman Reigns, I kind of wonder how fans would respond if The Undertaker debuted like this today. In general, though, I thought this was a great debut, and maybe one of the best I've
Wrestling
seen
was
since
way
doing
different
Bell to
back
Bell.
then than
But
now.
let's see what The
I feel like
Undertaker
people
did
wouldn't
after
even give it a
Survivor
chance
Series.
now.
After debuting, The Undertaker mostly just competed in squash matches and racked up wins.
But
In
characters
February
like that,
1991,
we don't get
the Dead Man
characters
got
like
rid
that
of
no
Brother
more.
Love and replaced
only
them
one
with
we
Paul
had
Bearer.
was Ray,
Not long
and
after
Ray,
adding his iconic
is not
manager,
here with
The
us no
Undertaker
more, so-
competed in his first WrestleMania
Yeah.
match on March 24th, 1991. The Dead Man defeated Jimmy Snuka, which was the start of Undertaker's legendary WrestleMania streak. After that, the Phenom had his first major feud with one of the WWE's biggest stars, the Ultimate Warrior. The two eventually went at it in a body bag match that Warrior won, which also made him the first person to defeat The Undertaker in a singles match. However, bigger things were just around the corner. Almost exactly a year after he made his debut, The Undertaker wrestled and defeated Hulk Hogan to win the WWE Championship at the 1991 Survivor Series. Due to Ric Flair's interference, a rematch was set up only 6 days later, where the Dead Man lost the title. A little while after that, Undertaker turned face when he saved Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth from an attack by Jake Roberts. This was followed up by having The Undertaker feud with some of the biggest monsters in WWE at the time, including Kamala and Giant Gonzalez. In fact, Undertaker's last feud before he took a break was against Yokozuna. They faced off at the 1994 Royal Rumble in a casket match, which the 589-pound behemoth won by locking the Dead Man away. As the coffin was being pushed out, Undertaker appeared on the screen and warned that he'd be back. Number 9 in the top 10 scariest Undertaker moments. After a few months had gone by, the Undertaker returned, but this time under the control of Ted DiBiase. As time went on, we found out this Undertaker was an imposter. The real Dead Man returned at the 1984 SummerSlam and put the faker in his place. From there, Undertaker began a rivalry with Ted DiBiase and his $1 Million Corporation, and was usually the one who had his hand raised. In late 1995, Undertaker suffered an injury to his orbital bone and had to take some time off for surgery. When he returned, the Phenom wore a Phantom of the Opera style mask, but it only lasted for a few months. Undertaker's next legendary feud was with Mankind, who had just debuted in April of 1996. The deranged Mankind would interfere in Undertaker's matches,
Wrestling back
so that
then
he
was
faced
so
off
like
at a number of
different
pay-per-views
and like
throughout 96.
cooler.
During
you
this
know what I'm
SummerSlam
saying?
match,
Probably
Paul
because we
Bearer
was
betrayed the
kids
Dead
back
Man
then.
and helped
A
Mankind
kid
win the
likes
fight.
stuff like that.
This
you know
only
what I'm
added
saying?
more fuel
So,
to the
like,
fire
being a
and led to
kid,
Undertaker defeating Mankind at In Your House 11 and the 1996 Survivor Series. After that, Undertaker sort of took a break from his rivalry with Mankind and Paul Bearer. This allowed him to pursue the WWE Championship again, which culminated at WrestleMania 13. In the main event, Undertaker took on Sid Vicious for the WWE title, and thanks to some help from Bret Hart, the Phenom won the championship for the second time in his career. This victory also put Undertaker's WrestleMania streak at 6-0, in case you were wondering. Undertaker held the goal until SummerSlam 1997, where special guest referee Shawn Michaels accidentally took out the Dead Man with a steel chair. This eventually led to The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels facing off in the first Hell in a Cell match. Of course, this moment is most famous for how it ended. During the match, the lights went black, and out came Paul Bearer and a big, red masked man called Kane. Kane, who in the storyline was Undertaker's half-brother, attacked his sibling and cost him the match. At first, Undertaker refused to fight the Big Red Machine. However, after Kane locked Taker inside of a casket and set it on fire, the Phenom had a change of mind. The two wrestlers finally went one-on-one at WrestleMania, where Undertaker proved his superiority. With that over, the Dead Man reignited his old rivalry with Mankind. The two made history when they squared off at the 1998 King of the Ring in a Hell in a Cell match. The entire thing is amazing, but the moment that is most remembered is when Undertaker threw Mankind off Hell in a Cell. Number 3 on the top 10 scariest Undertaker
most
moments.
definitely.
That match was pretty much the climax of Mankind and Undertaker's rivalry, so the Dead Man went on to feud with Stone Cold for the WWE Championship. The plot thickened when it was revealed that The Undertaker was now working with his former enemy, Kane. Despite having the Big Red Machine on his team, Undertaker was unable to win the
so
WWE
Undertaker
title.
got a whole
The
little
alliance with
strip.
Kane
Like,
ultimately
y'all,
ended.
if I end this video too early, don't get mad at me because, like, I don't know which part is Undertaker. Like, Undertaker part is over. You know what I'm saying?
When Undertaker turned
I
on
probably
his
gotta
brother
skip some
with
of
the
it.
help of Paul Bearer. This meant that Taker and Bear were back together, and the Phenom was a villain again. This set up the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness phase, where he was sort of a cult leader that
This is a 3-hour vid.
While the faction wasn't around for too long, it did create some of the Undertaker's most well-known moments, like the Black Wedding with Stephanie McMahon and the reveal of the Higher Power. Also, during this period, The Undertaker would wrestle and defeat Stone Cold to win the WWE Championship. However, in September 1999, Undertaker, in storyline, walked away from the company and wouldn't be seen for months. The reason for this was to allow the dead man to heal from a groin injury. He finally came back in May of 2000, and with a new biker character, and at the same time, turned face. Upon his return, Undertaker feuded with the McMahon-Helmsley faction, and successfully defeated Triple H, Shane, and Vince McMahon at the King of the Ring, alongside The Rock and Kane. From there, Undertaker once again started chasing after the WWE Championship. Unfortunately, the dead man's attempts were unsuccessful, but he did create this awesome moment at Armageddon. With no luck in the singles department, Undertaker reunited with Kane as the Brothers of Destruction. The two men went on to win their first tag team championship together when they beat Edge and Christian in April 2001, only to lose the belts to Triple H and Stone Cold a week and a half later. However, things weren't all bad for the brothers, as they not only won the WWE Tag Team titles again, but also the WCW ones as well. Undertaker and Kane held on to their gold until September, but continued to tag together and even represented Team WWE at the Invasion pay-per-view. After that, not only would the two not team together for roughly 5 years, but Undertaker also turned heel. For the next several months, Undertaker had a number of shorter rivalries with people like Rob Van Dam, The Rock, Ric Flair, and Maven. When the WWE roster was split between Raw and SmackDown in 2002, Undertaker got drafted to the Raw Legends. Things actually went pretty well for the dead man, as he won his 4th and final WWE Championship at Judgment Day by defeating Hulk Hogan. He held the title for a respectable 63 days before being beaten by The Rock. Not long after that, Undertaker would be traded from Raw to SmackDown, where he stayed for the entirety of the original brand split. On the Blue Show, Taker had some really great matches with younger talent such as Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and Kurt Angle. A key moment in Undertaker's career happened in November 2003, fittingly enough at Survivor Series. The Undertaker took on Vince McMahon in a Buried Alive match after the chairman of WWE interfered in the Dead Man's bout at No Mercy. The Phenom looked to have the match in the bag until Kane interfered and buried his brother alive. Undertaker wouldn't be heard from for months until he finally returned at WrestleMania 20. However, he was back to being the Dead Man again and also had Paul Bearer back as his manager. In the end, The Undertaker defeated Kane for a second time at WrestleMania, and the streak was now sitting at a clean 12-0. The next major rivalry Undertaker had was against JBL for the WWE Championship. They faced off several times in 2004, but the champion always managed to retain, usually either by disqualification or interference.
Look at Eddie.
Undertaker's next storyline was with Randy Orton, who looked to live up to his Legend Killer name by beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Of course, that didn't happen, but the rivalry didn't end after Mania. Orton challenged Undertaker to a rematch at SummerSlam, and the future Apex Predator won. The feud continued for the rest of the year, and ultimately concluded in a Hell in a Cell match, where Undertaker proved why he's a legend. For the next year or so, the Phenom would have a number of rivalries with a range of wrestlers, from Kurt Angle to Great Khali to MVP and Mr. Kennedy. It wasn't until 2007 that Undertaker's career had a big resurgence, as he won the Royal Rumble match and defeated Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 23. The rivalry continued well after Mania though. The two wrestled in multiple matches that were so brutal they often ended in a draw. In fact, after one particular match on SmackDown, Edge cashed in his Money in the Bank contract to challenge and beat the Dead Man for the World Heavyweight title. This planted the seeds for the feud Undertaker and the Radar Superstar would have in 2008. At the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, Undertaker won his match, which made him the #1 contender for Edge's world title at WrestleMania 24. Like last year, Undertaker not only walked away with the gold, but also another win in his streak, putting him at 16-0. Sadly,
when did his streak over 21-0
against the SmackDown general manager, Vicky Guerrero.
I think it was
21. Even without the championship, Undertaker and Edge still feuded, and the rivalry ultimately concluded at SummerSlam in a spectacular Hell in a Cell match. Like before, after his storyline with Edge wrapped, Undertaker had several smaller feuds until things got rolling again. In early 2009, Shawn Michaels earned the right to face Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. The match is a classic
Facts,
and one of the
that
best
match was
matches
hard.
in WWE history. People were on the edge of their seats, wondering if HBK was going to do it, but the Dead Man managed to keep his undefeated streak alive. It was such a great match, it happened again at next year's WrestleMania. But this time, with Shawn Michaels' career on the line. No matter how much Michaels wanted to win, it wasn't enough, and the Dead Man put an end to the career of the
Them two
showstopper.
together create
For 8
magic.
years at least. After that, a storyline developed where Undertaker was found in a, quote, vegetative state, and was absent from WWE for a while. Kane furiously looked for the individual who attacked his brother, but once Undertaker returned, it turned out the bigger machine was the perpetrator all along. This set up a no-holds-barred match at Night of Champions 2010, where Kane successfully defeated Undertaker. Shortly after the defeat, Paul Bearer returned as Undertaker's manager, only to turn on the Phenom during his rematch with Kane at Hell in a Cell. After 2 defeats, Undertaker challenged Kane to a third and final match at Bragging Rights, which was fittingly a buried alive match. Thanks to interference from the Nexus, Kane was able to win and avenge his 2 WrestleMania defeats with 3 consecutive wins over his brother. This marked the end of Undertaker's run as a full-time wrestler. For the next 3 years, Undertaker almost exclusively wrestled at WrestleMania. During that time, he defeated Triple H twice and CM Punk once, putting his undefeated streak at 21-0. However, the unthinkable was about to happen. On February 24th, 2014, Undertaker returned.
Yeah, his streak was over. And I feel like, you know, that was bittersweet because it's like it's the end of an era, but that man is old. He was getting old, man. His body breaking down on him, and a lot of fans need to understand that these wrestlers, man, that this take a toll on you. So his body was he needed to rest, man, for real. So shout out to Undertaker. When his streak broke, I was like,
and accepted
what?
Brock Lesnar's open challenge for a match at WrestleMania.
And of course
the
it would
two
be
fought
Brock.
for over 25 minutes, but after enduring 3 F5s, the Dead Man couldn't take it anymore, and Brock Lesnar pinned him and ended
Like
the
that,
streak.
man.
It's arguably the most shocking moment in WWE history, and while Undertaker would continue to
Look
compete
at
at
Bray.
WrestleMania, his matches at the biggest show of the year felt a bit different without the streak. For the next 6 years, Undertaker's career stayed fairly consistent. He would usually return for WrestleMania, and maybe wrestle a few additional matches here and there. However, even a dead man has to retire sometime.
Right.
Here's one thing you
He
need to
can't
do
do it
before
forever,
buying
you know what I'm
anything
saying?
online. Don't
He
spend
getting
another
old.
dime on
He's getting
Amazon
old.
until you watch this.
The beginning of the end of The Undertaker's career began at the 2020 Super Showdown. During a gauntlet match, Undertaker appeared as a surprise final participant and defeated AJ Styles. After the loss, the Phenomenal One began taunting The Undertaker and would later start using The Undertaker's real name and targeting his wife, Michelle McCool. Undertaker responded and agreed to face Styles at WrestleMania. With everything said,
AJ
Undertaker
and
geared up for
AJ
the final
Styles?
match of his career.
An
Over
Undertaker
29
match
years
was
after
fire.
his first WWE
That,
match, Undertaker got set to
cinematic
wrestle his
match.
last at
Man.
WrestleMania 36. This time, though, it took place inside a cemetery in what was called a boneyard match. It began with a hearse pulling into the graveyard.
boneyard
When the
match was
vehicle
fire.
stopped, 2 druids
Like, I was
emerged
so
and pulled out a
invested in that
casket.
shit, man.
Inside was the AJ Styles. The Phenomenal One taunted The Undertaker as Styles and the viewers waited for the dead man's arrival. Taking inspiration from one of his past personas, Undertaker rode in on a bike and it was all business. The demon from Death Valley immediately wiped AJ's smile off his face and smacked him all over the cemetery. The fight found its way to the hearse, which Undertaker used as a weapon against Styles. The Phenom and the Phenomenal One took things to the roof of the car, where Taker continued to pummel AJ Styles. To take control of the match, AJ threw some dirt into the dead man's eyes and low-blowed him. Now that his opponent was down, Styles led Undertaker to the grave he had prepared for the Phenom. Taker wasn't going to go out that easily, and knocked AJ down and dropped him into the grave instead. Before Undertaker could do anything, AJ's buddies, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, appeared. They brought with them a small army of druids, who then surrounded the dead man. Undertaker fought off the black-cloaked men,
That
but was
match
quickly
was so
ambushed
good,
by
bro.
Gallows and Anderson.
I was like, I watched that match. I was like, yeah, that's how we roll. You feel me? That's how we posted it.
Once Gallows and Anderson were taken care of, AJ Styles came back and smashed a tombstone over Undertaker's back. AJ continued wailing on Undertaker, even breaking his own finger. However, Styles did let the Phenom get up, only to knock him back down. At this point, it was clear that The Undertaker was hurt, and it looked like the match was over. The nail in the coffin came when AJ Styles broke a shovel over the dead man's back and sent him plummeting into the open grave. It seemed like The Undertaker was finished, but right before Styles dropped the dirt, the Phenom used his powers to appear behind AJ, and you can probably guess what happened next. A fully revived Undertaker began beating Styles and chased him onto the roof. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson tried to intervene, but the dead man was unstoppable. Taker threw Gallows off the building and Tombstone piledrived Anderson. AJ tried to fight back, but just like Bret Hart in 1990, Styles' attacks had no effect on The Undertaker. With no one to interfere and nowhere to go, the dead man wrapped his hand around the Phenomenal One's throat and sent him flying with a chokeslam. Undertaker then carried AJ's body to the grave and had a little talk with his opponent. At first, it seemed like The Undertaker was going to show Styles some mercy, but come on. Taker used a big boot to push AJ Styles into the grave and then buried him alive. With his work done, Undertaker got on his bike, raised his fist, and rode off into the night.
Yeah.
Of course, this match was way different than any of Undertaker's previous ones. This falls under the cinematic match category, and I think it's one of the best WWE's ever done. I felt like the camera angles, the music, lighting, and special effects made the match better. For example, Undertaker spends a decent amount of time talking to AJ, and the music definitely helps make it feel more dramatic. The only thing I didn't really like was when Gallows and Anderson brought out the Druids. It just felt a little too weird and strange. I know that Undertaker did similar stuff, like when he just worked from the grave and whatnot, but we've seen Undertaker do supernatural stuff for decades. Having the Druids come out just felt like they were taking a little too much liberty with the cinematic match setting. Plus, Undertaker literally just went around and punched the Druids one by one. They didn't even look like they were trying to attack him. However, this is just one moment. I don't think it hurts the match a ton. Like I said, I thought this was one of WWE's better cinematic matches, and it's a really cool way for The Undertaker to retire. Speaking of which, we originally didn't know that this was going to be Undertaker's last match, so let's see what happened afterward. Sometime after WrestleMania, WWE released a documentary series on The Undertaker called The Last Ride.
Yep.
The whole thing was great to watch.
Yeah, that documentary
but the big moment
was really
at
good.
The end, when Undertaker announced he was retiring. However, it really settled in at Survivor Series. On November 22nd, 2020, exactly 30 years after Undertaker wrestled his first WWE match, the dead man gave his farewell speech and officially put his career to rest. Even though he won't be wrestling, Undertaker will still be part of WWE, but likely in a behind-the-scenes role. For myself and a lot of other fans, Undertaker has always been there, so it's massive to have him gone. Before he was the game, Triple H took kids from a small city in Nashua, New Hampshire called Paul Levesque. He became hooked on wrestling at an early age and took up bodybuilding at 14 years old so he could look like the wrestlers he saw on TV. During that time, the game was working at a gym and met Ted Arcidi, a world champion powerlifter who also briefly wrestled in WWE in the mid-80s. Arcidi knew the legendary Killer Kowalski, one of the most feared and respected wrestlers of the 50s and 60s. Eventually, Ted Arcidi agreed to introduce Triple H to Kowalski, who began training the future WWE star in...
I do like Triple H, but like how everybody else perceive him and see him, like Triple H is like, he wasn't one of my favorites, but you know what I'm saying? He wasn't like my top favorite, but you know, I'm a Shawn Michaels girl, you feel me? But I did still like Triple H, but I'm saying like, he's not my...
In early 1990. During this time, the King of Kings also trained with future WWE stars Perry Saturn
and don't come for me for saying that,
because that's my own personal opinion. In 1992 at a show Killer Kowalski was running. Kowalski wanted his student to be called the Terrorizer, but Triple H didn't like it. They ultimately settled on the name Terror Rising. Triple H was impressive from the start, and not long after his first match, the game would be signed by WCW. He continued to call himself Terror Rising, but it wasn't quite working. The King of Kings decided to change and became Jean-Paul Levesque, a snobby upper-class Frenchman. While it didn't make him famous, the character change did give Triple H more screen time. Later on, Triple H was paired with Lord Steven Regal, a wrestler who had become a lifelong friend. While it seemed like a good pairing, the game wasn't happy with his role in the company. He met with Vince McMahon, and after seeing Triple H's match in the 1994 Starrcade pay-per-view, McMahon offered the Cerebral Assassin a WWE contract. In a rare move, Triple H essentially kept his WCW character intact when he joined WWE. While he was no longer French, he continued playing an aristocratic character who was from Greenwich, Connecticut. Triple H would also change his name to Hunter Hearst Helmsley. After weeks of promo videos, the King competed in his first WWE match on April 30th, 1995. Triple H's first opponent was a wrestler named Buck Zumhofe, who would later be sentenced to 25 years in prison for criminal sexual misconduct. Yikes. As the Game walked to the ring, he held a cane and had a disdainful look on his face. The commentator said that Triple H was here to bring stability and class to the WWE. Once the match started, the King of Kings gave Zumhofe a waistlock takedown. Zumhofe quickly got out of it and taunted the newcomer. When the two locked up again, they exchanged
Don't y'all see how that works? It just be crazy how they be coming up with this name. So they say Hunter, Hunt, Hemsley, whatever the fuck it is. It was 3 H's though, so they just probably shortened it and put 3 H's.
Triple H landed a closed fist right hand, knocking down the veteran. With his opponent on the mat, the Cerebral Assassin stomped away at Buck Zumhofe and then picked him back up and connected with a European uppercut. Soon after that, Triple H surprisingly broke out a spinning heel kick. The Game felt kind of cocky, which gave Zumhofe an opportunity to make a comeback. Buck was going to try and hit a hip toss, but Triple H struck with an RKO from out of nowhere. The referee counted to 3, and Triple H had won his debut match. From start to finish, the fight was about 2 minutes long. We didn't get to see much of Triple H's moveset, but it is crazy to see him hit a spinning heel kick and a cutter. The match did, however, introduce fans to the Hunter Hearst Helmsley character, and over the next few shows, we'd get more acquainted with him. After his first match, Triple H continued defeating enhancement talent. Finally, in October 1995, the Game had his first rivalry with a farmer character called Henry O'Godwin. It started when the two fought to a draw on Raw, the first time Triple H didn't win a one-on-one match in WWE. This led to a rematch at the In Your House 5 pay-per-view, where the Game and Godwin fought in an Arkansas hog pen match. Triple H picked up the victory by back body dropping Henry O'Godwin into a hog pen filled with actual pigs. The thrill of the victory was short-lived, though, as the special guest referee, Hillbilly Jim, threw the King of Kings into the pig pen too, where he was covered in manure. After feuding with a farmer, Triple H would have a rivalry with a garbage man named Duke the Dumpster Droese. They fought at the 1996 Royal Rumble, where the Game knocked out Droese with brass knucks, only to have the decision reversed by WWE President Gorilla Monsoon. While Triple H got his revenge against the Dumpster by defeating him at In Your House 6, things were about to get a lot worse for the King of Kings. The Ultimate Warrior had recently returned to WWE, and the company was eager to feature him at that year's WrestleMania. Originally, the match between the Warrior and Triple H was supposed to be competitive, but Warrior had other ideas. Since he was a legend, the Ultimate Warrior decided he wanted to defeat Triple H in less than 2 minutes at WrestleMania. Not only that, but Warrior also decided not to sell Triple H's finisher, the Pedigree. The Game was still a newbie and had to go along with it, and ended up losing in spectacular fashion in his first WrestleMania match. Even with the setback, WWE still had big plans for Triple H. He was rumored to win that year's King of the Ring tournament, but in May of 1996, his career took a surprising setback. Triple H was real-life friends with Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. Hall and Nash decided to leave WWE and go to WCW, and in their final night in WWE, the entire group broke character and hugged in the ring. People backstage were livid, but since Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were gone, and since Shawn Michaels was WWE's biggest star, only Triple H could be punished. In the King of the Ring tournament, Hunter ended up losing to Jake the Snake, but it didn't end there. The Game's career continued to stall, as he was left without any major storylines. Finally, WWE management felt like Triple H had served his punishment and briefly paired him with Mr. Perfect. Together, they schemed their way into the Game capturing his first WWE title against Mark Merrow on Raw, the Intercontinental Championship. However, in a sign of things to come, Triple H lost the title to a young Rock on Raw in early 1997. Even with the loss, things continued to look up for the Cerebral Assassin. On the following episode of Raw, one of the most pivotal moments of his career would happen. While wrestling a match against Goldust, Triple H's real-life girlfriend, Chyna, emerged from the crowd and manhandled Goldust manager, Marlena. This led to Chyna becoming Triple H's bodyguard, and not only that, but the King of Kings would also defeat the Bizarre One at WrestleMania 13. The momentum continued as Triple H finally got his King of the Ring victory after picking up wins in the tournament against Crush, Ahmed Johnson, and another soon-to-be major rival, Mankind. The Game's career rose to another level that year as he dropped his aristocratic character and embraced the role of a degenerate. This is pretty ironic, since this is exactly what he didn't want to see in the WWE when he debuted in 1995. Triple H and Shawn Michaels, along with Chyna, Rick Rude, and later on, Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg, aligned to create D-Generation X. During this time, the name Hunter Hearst Helmsley went away, and he'd be officially known as Triple H. As a member of DX, the group set their sights on the Hart Foundation. Bret Hart had been critical of Triple H and HBK's over-the-top language and sexual references. The battle culminated in the infamous Montreal Screwjob at the 1997 Survivor Series. Hart ended up losing the WWE Championship to Shawn Michaels, despite the fact he never tapped out. Bret left WWE after that match, but even with him out of the company, Triple H wasn't done with the Hart Foundation just yet. A couple of weeks later on Raw, DX had a little person betray Hart. Later that same night, Triple H beat up former Hart Foundation member Jim Neidhart after DX briefly formed an alliance with them. This embarrassment and betrayal of Neidhart led to WWE Commissioner Sergeant Slaughter getting involved. This set up a match between Triple H and Slaughter at the D-Generation X In Your House pay-per-view
What happened to
that the
Sergeant
game won.
Slaughter anyway?
After that, Triple H began feuding with Owen Hart over the European Championship, leading to a match at WrestleMania 14. Per the stipulation, Chyna was handcuffed to Sergeant Slaughter, but that proved pretty ineffective as she was still able to interfere and help give the King of Kings the victory. Triple H and Hart faced off once again at Unforgiven In Your House, where the Game successfully retained his championship. Triple H and Owen Hart's rivalry wasn't over, as Hart joined up with the Nation of Domination. This resulted in a battle between DX and the Nation, and Hart was finally able to defeat Triple H in a 3-on-3 tag team match. Not only that, but around the same time, Triple H would lose the European Championship to another member of the Nation of Domination, D'Lo Brown. After feuds with Owen Hart and Brown, the next person Triple H would feud with was the leader of the Nation, The Rock. At the fully loaded pay-per-view, the two battled to a time-limit draw in a best 2-out-of-3 falls match for the IC Championship. At the next pay-per-view, SummerSlam, Triple H and The Rock delivered an awesome ladder match. The fight saw Triple H become a 2-time Intercontinental Champion after Chyna gave Rock a low blow while he was climbing the ladder. Unfortunately, Triple H suffered a knee injury shortly after that and had to vacate the title. After returning to the ring, the Game received a big moment at the 1999 Royal Rumble. In the final moments of the match, it looked like Triple H had won, only to be thrown out by Vince McMahon, who was then thrown out by Chyna. Things got even worse for the King of Kings when Chyna betrayed him the following day to join the corporation. The real-life couple faced off on opposing sides at St. Valentine's Day Massacre, with the Cerebral Assassin teaming up with fellow DX member X-Pac and Kane joining Chyna's side. Even though Triple H's team took a loss, he was soon reunited with the Ninth Wonder of the World at WrestleMania 15. Chyna turned on Kane by hitting him with a chair, allowing Triple H to hit the pedigree. The power couple was back together, and later that night, Triple H betrayed X-Pac by helping Shane McMahon defeat him. At the 1999 Backlash, the Cerebral Assassin defeated X-Pac and set his sights on The Rock once again. Triple H threw the Great One off the Raw stage, breaking Rock's arm in the process.
He broke his arm.
The two competed in several one-on-one matches over the next few months. At the 1999 fully loaded pay-per-view, Triple H defeated the Brahma Bull in a strap match, making the Game the #1 contender for the WWE Championship. This ultimately led to a triple threat match at SummerSlam between Triple H, Mankind, and the WWE Champion, Stone Cold Steve Austin. The match ended with Mankind pinning Steve Austin to become the new champion. However, the next night, Triple H challenged Mankind for the title and won. It was one of the biggest moments of Triple H's career, but his first reign as WWE Champion was kind of weird. Less than a month after winning the title, he lost it to Vince McMahon, only to then win it back in a six-pack challenge at Unforgiven. Triple H got a huge win when he beat Steve Austin to retain the WWE Championship, even if it was because The Rock he was left lying after the King of Kings attacked him with a sledgehammer. Around this time, Raw and SmackDown were split into two separate brands with their own rosters and champions. The WWE title went to SmackDown, which left Raw without a world champion. In a controversial move, Eric Bischoff just handed the World Heavyweight Championship to Triple H. The Game's first challenger for the gold was Rob Van Dam, who couldn't beat the Game at Unforgiven. What happened next continues to live on in wrestling infamy. Intercontinental Champion Kane and Triple H kicked off a feud revolving around the death of Kane's girlfriend, Katie Vick. The game blamed Katie Vick's death on Kane and did some other things too. Mercifully, the storyline ended with Triple H winning at No Mercy, unifying the World Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championships. Triple H's reign of terror hit a slight bump when he lost the world title to Shawn Michaels in the first Elimination Chamber match. HBK's title run was short-lived though, as the Cerebral Assassin regained the gold at Armageddon a month later. To continue his reign over Raw, Triple H enlisted some help to form the most dominant stable of the era, Evolution, featuring the legend Ric Flair, star in the making Randy Orton, and the Muscle Batista. A series of challengers emerged, with the King of Kings battling Booker T at WrestleMania 19. The angle was controversial, as it seemed to incorporate racism into the storyline. It didn't help either that Triple H defeated Booker T and retained his championship. Tripp's next challenger was Goldberg, who debuted the night after WrestleMania. Goldberg appeared to be Triple H's kryptonite as he ended the game's world title reign at Unforgiven. I say appeared because Triple H won the title back at Armageddon. Soon after, Chris Benoit won the Royal Rumble in a row. He didn't win this time, but did eliminate the WWE Champion, Sheamus. The Celtic Warrior was upset and attacked the Cerebral Assassin afterward. The two decided to face off WrestleMania 26, where Triple H was supreme. Sheamus wasn't done yet though, and a rematch was set up for the next pay-per-view, Extreme Rules. This time, the Celtic Warrior got the better of the game and defeated him. After this loss, Triple H would be absent from WWE. The reason for this was to focus on becoming involved in the behind-the-scenes of the company. It wasn't until early 2011 that we'd see Triple H again. The game returned and wanted to avenge Shawn Michaels, who was forced to retire after losing to The Undertaker at last year's WrestleMania. The Dead Man accepted Triple H's challenge, but Trips wasn't able to defeat the Phenom. After being absent for a few months, the game returned as the COO of WWE. He told Vince McMahon that McMahon was relieved of his duties and re-signed CM Punk, whose contract had recently expired. Despite this, Triple H and Punk kept butting heads. It finally resulted in a match between them at Night of Champions that Triple H won. The celebration was short-lived, as the WWE roster had a vote of no confidence in Triple H, and the game had his authority taken away. In 2012, the King of Kings focus returned to The Undertaker. Triple H won one more shot as a dead man, and the two faced off in a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania 28. Even with Shawn Michaels as the guest referee, the former DX mates couldn't get the job done. Not long after that, Triple H would begin his next storyline with Brock Lesnar. The rivalry started when Lesnar broke Game's arm after Triple H refused to give in to Lesnar's contract demands. Once he was healed, the King of Kings and the Beast fought it out for the first time at SummerSlam. Brock Lesnar would win that encounter, but Triple H wasn't done. Trips and Lesnar had a rematch at WrestleMania 29 that saw the game as the winner. The rivalry ended with one final match at Extreme Rules, where Brock walked away victorious. A few months later, Triple H would begin a new faction called The Authority. It started when Triple H was the special guest referee for a match between Daniel Bryan and the WWE Champion, John Cena. Bryan won, but his victory was cut short when Triple H attacked him. This allowed Randy Orton to cash in his Money in the Bank contract and become the new WWE Champion. In addition to the Cerebral Assassin and the Viper, the group also included Stephanie McMahon and Kane. The Authority tried to hold Daniel Bryan down, but Bryan proved to be too resilient, and defeated Triple H at WrestleMania 30 and captured the Heavyweight Championship later in the night. The King of Kings had one more plan in mind to stop Bryan by reforming Evolution, but this quickly set off a feud with The Shield. H, Batista, and Orton weren't able to get the job done and lost to The Shield at Extreme Rules and Payback. However, as Triple H said, there's always a plan B. The game had secretly persuaded Rollins to join the Authority and betray Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. Triple H continued to lead his faction while also being a mentor to Rollins. However, there was a thorn in the game's side: Sting. The Icon made his long-awaited debut in WWE and caused trouble for the Authority. This ultimately led to Triple H and Sting going one-on-one at WrestleMania 31. The game proved why he was that good and defeated the Stinger in the Icon's first WWE match. For the rest of 2015, Triple H continued to appear regularly, but was mainly focused on helping Seth Rollins, who is now WWE Champion. Due to an unfortunate real-life injury, Seth had to vacate the WWE title. Roman Reigns ended up becoming the new champion, which angered the game. At the 2016 Royal Rumble, the 30-man match was turned into a title defense for Reigns. The Cerebral Assassin came out as a surprise final entrant and was able to eliminate Roman. This meant Triple H was the WWE Champion again, and this was also his 14th world title reign. The game and the Big Dog clash at WrestleMania 32, where Triple H lost the WWE title back to Reigns. Following the defeat, Triple H would be absent for several months. He returned in August 2016 during a match for the Universal Championship. In a shocking twist, Triple H betrayed Seth Rollins and helped Kevin Owens win the title. This began a slow-building rivalry, which resulted in Rollins and Triple H fighting at WrestleMania 33. The Cerebral Assassin locked up with his former protege, but couldn't beat Rollins, and Triple H took the L again at WrestleMania. For the next couple of years, Triple H continued to appear sporadically. He mainly would show up for big matches, like teaming up with Stephanie McMahon against Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 34, fighting John Cena at the Greatest Royal Rumble, or reuniting with Shawn Michaels to take on Undertaker and Kane. The game's last big rivalry was with his old friend and rival, Batista. Now a major movie star, the Animal is dead set on facing Triple H again. Batista made a statement by attacking Ric Flair before the Nature Boy's birthday celebration. The game had no choice but to accept the challenge, resulting in a match at WrestleMania 35. The match was nearly 25 minutes long and featured some brutal moments. Thanks to help from Ric Flair, Triple H was able to defeat Batista and end the night with his hand held high. Ironically, not long after defeating one former Evolution teammate, Triple H would wrestle another, Randy Orton. It was announced the two would clash at Super Showdown in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. It wasn't clear at the time, but this would be the game's last match in WWE. Randy Orton was the first to enter. His entrance was 2019 in comparison to Triple H's. The Cerebral Assassin rode a custom motorcycle down the entrance ramp, which was practically complete opposite of how his original character in 1995 would enter. Once Triple H got inside the ropes, the bell rang, and the game and the Viper sized each other up. The fight began with the two locking up and exchanging wrist locks. It was a very methodical start until H connected with a shoulder tackle. Both men went for their finishing moves early on, only to escape the holds. Shortly after that, Orton connected with his first offensive move by knocking the game down with a right hand. Orton took over offense and worked away at Triple H in the corner. The King of Canes quickly turned things around by sending the Viper crashing into the ring post. Triple H continued to attack Randy, and the fight spilled to the outside of the ring. The Cerebral Assassin began using the ring and surrounding environment to inflict the most damage he could on his opponent. Finally, Orton made a move out of desperation by back body dropping the game onto the announcer's table. The Apex Predator used Triple H's own strategy against him by whipping the game into the steel steps. The match got back inside the ring, where Orton stomped away at Triple H's defenseless body. Triple H managed to fight out of an extended headlock, but was hit with a clothesline and sent right back down to the mat. Orton put on another side headlock, but H broke free, and the two began exchanging punches. Triple H got the advantage when he hit his signature high knee. The King of Kings followed up with a clothesline and knee facebreaker. He then attempted another pedigree, but the Viper countered with a catapult into the corner. Triple H stopped Orton's momentum with a high knee and again went for a pedigree. Randy Orton prevented it and got Triple H on the ring apron, where he hit the King of Kings with a dropkick. The Apex Predator got Triple H on the top turnbuckle, only to be thrown back down to the mat and clotheslined from behind. As Randy struggled to get back up, he was taunted by Triple H doing the crotch chop, which backfired as the Viper landed a power slam. Triple H crawled back to the edge of the ring, which turned out to be a bad move as the Viper caught him with a DDT. In full control, Orton coiled up, calling for the RKO, but this taunting also backfired, allowing Triple H to hit a spine buster. The two went back to the mat, with the game locking in a crossface. Randy spent over a minute in the hold until finally getting the rope break. The two got on their feet, and Orton was about to hit the RKO, but Triple H caught him and tried to hit a pedigree. The Viper then attempted the RKO a second time and hit it. The Apex Predator went for the cover, but Triple H kicked out. Orton showed frustration after not picking up the win, causing him to set up the punt kick. Luckily for Triple H, he caught the kick and hit the pedigree. However, Randy Orton kicked out of the Cerebral Assassin's finisher. An exhausted Viper rolled to the outside, with Triple H following. Orton tried to hit another back body drop on the announcer's table, only for H to reverse the move and hit Orton with 4 back body drops in a row. The King of Canes played to the crowd and looked to be in full control. When he got back inside the squared circle, he charged at his former protege, but was quickly met with an RKO from out of nowhere, allowing Orton to finally get the pin. For a final opponent, it's hard to have a better choice for Triple H than Randy Orton. Of the entire WWE roster, the Viper was the wrestler who had the most history with the game, dating back to over 15 years earlier with the formation of Evolution. The two battled in many big matches and defeated each other for world titles. One last round featuring the two seems like the ideal last battle for the King of Canes. It's also kind of interesting that Triple H's first WWE match ended with a cutter, and so did his last. While Triple H has made appearances on TV since this match, it seems unlikely we'll see him wrestle again. He underwent serious heart surgery in September 2021. During Triple H's recovery, his role backstage was greatly reduced, so it's hard to imagine him being in good enough health to compete. Never say never, but it seems like Randy Orton will end up being the final opponent for Triple H.
Wait, that's crazy. Randy Orton. Well, I feel like Randy Orton was the perfect person.
Before he was Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Alright, y'all, should I stop here or keep going? I'm gonna look at a little bit of Stone Cold and then I'm done, because I might do a part 2. You know what I'm saying? This video right here was to help my watch time as well, so like, yeah.
Texas Rattlesnake was Stephen James Williams. When he was 7 or 8 years old,
look at
Austin accidentally discovered wrestling while changing channels on his TV. Instantly, the Rattlesnake was hooked and knew what he wanted to do. Stone Cold continued to watch wrestling as he grew older and finally got a chance to step into the ring when he found a school in Dallas, Texas, run by a man named Gentleman Chris Adams. The Rattlesnake struggled when he began training, but he didn't quit. Soon, he began competing in the ring using his real name, Steve Williams. However, there was another wrestler with the same name, Dr. Death Steve Williams. Stone Cold had to change his name, so he ended up going with Steve Austin, which is what he'd be called for the rest of his career. Soon, Austin got the opportunity to wrestle in WCW, where he called himself Stunning Steve Austin. He had a solid run, winning several championships and forming a tag team called the Hollywood Blondes with Brian Pillman. However, in 1995, Austin would be fired, infamously finding out when he got a letter via FedEx. With his WCW career behind him, Stone Cold would head to ECW. While in the land of Extreme, Steve Austin began to develop the rebellious, loudmouth character he would use in WWE. Speaking of WWE, that's where Austin would head to next. In January 1996, Ted DiBiase said he found someone that could wear the $1 Million Championship. That person ended up being Stone Cold Steve Austin, or as he was called at the time, the Ringmaster. After the glowing introduction, Austin would compete in his first WWE match the next week. With the $1 Million Championship around his waist and Ted DiBiase accompanying him, Steve Austin was prepared to take on his debut opponent, a young Matt Hardy. Once they locked up, Stone Cold took down Hardy with ease. The Rattlesnake's first offensive move was the Lou Thesz press and punches, which would become a signature move of Stone Cold's. Austin then hit Hardy with a back body drop, followed by several chops and punches in the corner. The Rattlesnake's assault continued with a move that kind of resembled Austin's iconic pointed elbow. Matt Hardy tried to mount a comeback, but Steve Austin responded with a Gourd Buster. Stone Cold went for the pin, but changed his mind and wanted the match to continue. That was a mistake, as Hardy dodged a running knee and started hitting the Rattlesnake with fists. Austin, though, ended his opponent's rampage by throwing him into the ropes and then locking in the $1 Million Dream sleeper hold. Matt Hardy quickly passed out, and Steve, the Ringmaster Austin, was awarded the victory. Technically, the match was just a squash, but it seemed to have a bit more to it, which was appreciated. The craziest part, though, is that Matt Hardy was Steve Austin's debut opponent in WWE. While Austin debuted as the Ringmaster, that name didn't last long. In real life, Steve Austin didn't like his character and decided to shave off his hair and grow a goatee. He also developed a new persona based on a serial killer named Richard Kuklinski, whose nickname was the Iceman. Along with these changes, Austin would also change his ring name to Stone Cold Steve Austin, only about 2 months after his first WWE match. The Ringmaster name would still be referenced, but it soon faded away. Anyways, Stone Cold's first feud was with Savio Vega. They fought on Raw, with the match ending in a double countout. They had a rematch at WrestleMania 12, which Stone Cold won. However, Austin would lose their third match at the following pay-per-view. The Rattlesnake and Vega had a fourth fight with the added stipulation that if Steve Austin lost, then Ted DiBiase would be forced to quit WWE. Stone Cold did lose, which ended his alliance with DiBiase. While this seemed like a setback, Austin's career was about to be taken to the next level. Steve Austin won the 1996 King of the Ring tournament by defeating Jake the Snake Roberts in the final round. Roberts was playing a born-again Christian character at the time, so Austin ad-libbed this famous line.
Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass.
This line created Stone Cold's iconic 316 catchphrase and helped push him as one of WWE's biggest stars. The Texas Rattlesnake was still a heel or bad guy at this point, and this was reflected over the next few months. Stone Cold would taunt Bret Hart, who was out of action. Once Bret returned, he accepted Steve Austin's challenge, setting up a match between them at Survivor Series. In the lead-up, Brian Pillman was interviewing Steve Austin and inadvertently complimented the Hitman, causing Stone Cold to attack Pillman and break his ankle. Later, Pillman was doing an interview from his home while recovering from the injury. Stone Cold would break in, leading to Brian Pillman pointing a gun at Steve Austin.
I love this
was a very controversial segment and became known as Pillman's Got a Gun.
Cut that out.
While there was some backlash,
man, you tripping, bro. You can't post nothing like that on YouTube. I'm gonna have to cut that out.
Because of it, the segment didn't hurt Stone Cold's career. If anything, it did the opposite. At the 1996 Survivor Series, Stone Cold finally got his match against Bret Hart. The winner of the match also got a WWE Championship match, so the stakes were extremely high. Despite all the trash talking Austin had done, he could not pin the Hitman, and Bret Hart was the one who had his hand raised. The Rattlesnake lost the battle, but his rivalry with Hart was far from over. At the 1997 Royal Rumble, both Steve Austin and Bret Hart entered the 30-man match. Hart did eliminate Stone Cold, but due to the referees not seeing it, Steve Austin got back in the ring and ended up eliminating Bret Hart and winning the match. Due to the controversial nature of Austin's victory and the fact that the WWE Championship had been vacated after the Royal Rumble, Austin instead got to participate in a four-way match for the WWE title at the next pay-per-view, In Your House 13. Bret Hart was in that match as well, and the Hitman ended up winning. Austin wasn't going to let that happen, so he decided to cost Bret Hart the championship the next night while Bret was defending it. The two finally got to go one-on-one again at WrestleMania 13. This is where an important part of Stone Cold's career happened. After throwing everything at each other, Bret put Austin in the sharpshooter. Despite the pain, Stone Cold didn't submit and ended up passing out instead. The Hitman kept the sharpshooter locked in even after the bell rang. This caused Bret Hart to turn heel.
I'm going to do 10 more minutes and then I'm done with this video.
Steve Austin to become a face at the exact same moment. Now with the roles reversed, Stone Cold would fight Bret Hart in another match at the next pay-per-view, In Your House 14. Due to the British Bulldog hitting Stone Cold with a chair, Steve Austin won the match and earned a shot at the Undertaker's WWE Championship. Before facing the Deadman, however, Austin faced Bret Hart for a fourth time on Raw. The match was ruled a no contest, but Stone Cold still ended the fight by injuring Bret Hart's leg. With the Hitman out of the way, Stone Cold focused on his WWE Championship match against The Undertaker. Unfortunately, an old rival had come back to cost Austin his shot at becoming WWE Champion. Brian Pillman distracted Stone Cold during the title match, allowing Undertaker to beat the Texas Rattlesnake. Pillman had aligned himself with Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation months earlier, so Austin conveniently had all of his enemies in one group. Shawn Michaels also had beef with the Harts, so he and Stone Cold decided to team up. They even defeated Owen Hart and the British Bulldog to win the WWE Tag Team Championship, the first title that Stone Cold won in WWE. Since their partnership wasn't built on a solid foundation, Michaels and Steve Austin got into a fair bit of argument.
Yeah.
They even fought each other while they were Tag Team Champions, with the match ending in a double disqualification when they attacked the referee. HBK would need time off due to an injury, forcing Austin to relinquish the tag team title. However, he was put in a match against Owen Hart and the British Bulldog to crown new champions. Austin was given the opportunity to choose a new tag team partner, but he elected to fight Hart and Bulldog on his own. Despite not wanting a partner, a debuting Dude Love would come to the ring and help Stone Cold. Austin accepted Dude Love's assistance, and the two won the match, making Stone Cold a two-time tag team champion. Stone Cold's feud with the Hart Foundation, and especially Owen Hart, continued to get hotter and hotter. Finally, at the 1997 SummerSlam, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Owen Hart went one-on-one for Hart's Intercontinental Championship. During the match, Owen would infamously botch a piledriver, causing Stone Cold's neck to break. Stone Cold did manage to roll up Hart and win the match, but that didn't matter. Due to the injury, Steve Austin would relinquish both the
His neck was... And he still managed to finish the match, bro. I would have been in there crying, scared as hell. I would have
and Tag Team Championships. However, Austin wouldn't be out of the ring for too long. In September 1997, while Owen Hart was in the ring, Stone Cold attacked him from behind. This prompted Vince McMahon to get into the ring and have a word with Austin. The Rattlesnake responded by giving his boss a Stone Cold Stunner, which kicked off a rivalry between Steve Austin and Vince McMahon. Austin, though, still had some unfinished business with Owen Hart.
Alright, y'all, so basically that's the end of the video. I did Undertaker, I did Triple H, I did a little bit of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I already know Stone Cold Steve Austin last match was with, well, the most recent match that he did was at WrestleMania. I think it was last year against Kevin Owens. They had a match that was awesome that he came back and did that. So, honestly, guys, I know all of this, but, you know, the video is going on too long. I did not know Stone Cold Steve Austin's first match was against Matt Hardy because I wasn't even alive in 1995, y'all. I was born in 2000s, so in the 2000, that year 2000. So it's a lot of stuff that I haven't seen. Well, I know a lot of wrestling facts, but it's like, you know, if you was born in 2000 and that happened in 1995, you had to do research and go back to find this information out. You feel me? What I'm saying? So like the 2000s era, we had like John Cena, we had, you know what I'm saying, that Attitude Era, like we had certain people on there. And like the people like that wrestled in the 1990s and way before that, you gotta do like research on that type of stuff, you know what I'm saying, to understand like certain things, you know what I mean, or know certain people. Like a lot of people wouldn't know about certain people from back in the day unless they did research or like understand, like, because people like Undertaker, Triple H, Jeff Hardy, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Rock was still going at a certain period of time. That's why a lot of people knew them. Kane, they were still active in the 2000s, going like all the way up to now. Like John Cena's still on there. So yeah, I feel like I did 3 legendary wrestlers. Like, you know what I'm saying, I did Undertaker, he's really a legend, and I did Triple H and Stone Cold, so I feel like that's good enough, you know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to get back on here, so I'm gonna try to get back on here as much as I can and do videos, y'all. Right now, I just gotta find the time. So right now, like at this moment, I found the time, and it's quiet, but certain times it's chaotic. That's why I haven't posted. So while I did a long video so I can get back into the YouTube vibe, you know what I'm saying? But if you wanted me to react to something, let me know down in the comments below if you watched this whole video through. And I appreciate every last one of you guys, and I'm out. Peace.
Yeah, I'm on that, yeah. Hop up on that couch and roll a lotto out the bag. I don't need a stylist, they can't fuck with Quilly Red.